like you and I. But his vision was great. He had the ability to foresee the incoming time. He was able to draw lesson out of the time which passed before him, which means that a good poet or a good author does not belong to a particular time or a particular age. Rather, he belongs to all ages. He talks about the universal truth and not the limited truth. Now, the universality of a truth becomes important when it covers all ages. For example, if Shakespeare says, I belong to all but none. I belong to all but none. It means that he does not belong to himself, but he belongs to you, he belongs to me, and he belongs to the entire universe. This is what we need to understand history. Because history tells us about the factors, events which develop that particular age or that particular period. Now, history of English literature is, of course, confined to authors, writers who produced their work in English language. Though we also study many other authors who belong to different languages, but since their works have been translated into English, so they have also become a part of English literature as well. History definitely is like society. Why is it like society? Because in a society, you live with different people, and their reactions and their actions help you to understand them physically and spiritually. Similarly, different events of history help us to understand figures which are produced by that particular time. In this way, if you have a look at Geoffrey Chaucer, so his age, sorry, was very important because of several factors. During the Middle Age, people were struggling to change their class. Because the fundamental desire of every human being is not to stick to himself, to his age. His fundamental desire is to liberate himself of all the limitations which force him to confine himself to that particular age. And only those people are successful who are able to cross the boundaries and the limitations. Dear students, remember that you have to study the history of English literature with this basic concept that all events do not affect all. Sensitive persons are affected by events very quickly, and their response and reaction is also very productive and 90% positive. For example, along with Geoffrey Chaucer, millions of other persons lived, but it was only Geoffrey Chaucer who could sense, who could realize the negative and positive aspects of events occurring during that age. This is the reason why every one of us cannot become a poet or cannot become an author, because our response to different events is not that positive and that productive which the authors and poets have. Students, my lecture today is focused upon how history helps us to understand literature with special reference to English literature. For example, the events which took place during the Middle Age, the different movements, the human urge to conquer the universe, the human urge to learn about each other. These were the main factors which helped all authors to produce their fascinating works of art. Now, Geoffrey Chaucer, with all his strength and with all his keen vision, portrayed beautiful characters and shared with us all those events which according to Chaucer were likely to contribute to develop the incoming age. Now, let us also throw some light on the great master of English literature, William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare did not produce great art out of special events. He produced all his dramas and plays out of very ordinary events. In Othello, he discussed the very fundamental issue of human life: jealousy, revenge. If we have a look at our lives, we can see that we are also affected and inspired by revenge, sorry, and jealousy. Uh, Students, when we study history of English literature, do not forget that we analyze each and every event of history according to our own vision. Some people may appreciate an accident, but others may criticize it. The reason is your personal response to life, to that particular event. I'll give you a very simple example that if you see or 10 different persons watch a flower, so it may be only a bunch of leaves for some, a bunch of petals for some, but for others, it would be a source of inspiration. A scientist may try to understand the chemistry of that flower, but a poet will look at the impact of that particular flower or piece of beauty upon a human being. He will not only look at the petals, he will look at the composition of the petals, flower as a whole. So it is proved that a sensitive person looks at whole. He does not look at bits and parts, because only we can understand a human being sorry, when we take him as a whole. If you only focus at his fingers or his eyes or his lips or his ears, it will not help you to understand that person spiritually. Yes, you may understand him mechanically. You see, for